We now continue with more of the Mark Milton Show with The Smash on 590 The Fan and 590thefan.com.
Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. Don't let them get let them be doctors and lawyers and such. Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. They'll never stay home. They're always alone. Even with someone they love.
Oh, brother. Dave, great work over there. During the break, Milty trying to tell Dave how to do his job as a producer. Trying to get.
He's done very well.
He's great. He set me straight. He set me straight. It's one of my biggest weaknesses, micromanaging.
Is that what they call it?
And then on the flip side, too, we also know that if we ever try to tell you how to do your job, that we are going to be 10 feet deep in water before we can drink with all the tax laws.
This is Ian Flanagan.
Is that what Dave sounds like?
That is Dave's voice.
I never get to talk to him.
I'm telling you, I told him he can chime in. This is the Mark Milton Show with the Smash. That was Blake Sheldon, Ian Flanagan throwing down, what is it? Mamas don't let your babies become cowboys.
Grow up to be
cowboys.
Yeah, exactly
Great
right.
song.
Willie Nelson song right there, man.
Great song.
I'll tell you what, those of you who heard the singing of myself, Sir Smashington, and Uncle Milty, you heard the initial performance of the Unrighteous Brothers.
We're gonna start a country music band.
The Unrighteous Brothers.
Smash, you're gonna come out of retirement.
Yep.
We're gonna go country.
Idea.
We're gonna go country.
Do we have
like
to wear
Hootie.
like the rhinestones and all that
Absolutely,
stuff?
like Darius Rucker, man.
Yeah, Darius Rucker did.
He went
yeah.
country. A lot of people have done that.
Oh yeah. Well, Smash Band, we played a lot of country music and everything. When we were roaming the range, shall we say?
Did you do
So
a lot
I'm
of
ready for
Dixie
country.
Chicks? You do a lot of Dixie Chicks?
We did a couple of Dixie Chicks.
That was
but
popular.
I didn't sing them. The
I
girls
remember
sang it.
back in the day, Belleville, there used to be, the Dixie Chicks.
Yeah.
There was a band that actually was Dixie Express. They played a lot of Dixie.
Oh, really?
We used to see them Shenanigans.
Uh-huh.
It's one of my favorite.
Shenanigans.
Did you ever play there?
No, I haven't played there, but I know the club.
We used to do Cutters a lot. I remember seeing your
Cutters
name
all the time,
on the marquee back in the day.
Yeah.
Where else in Belleville?
Well, the various restaurants, for example, Cinco de Mayo, we'd be just outside of Belleville and O'Fallon over at Chevy's.
Oh, yeah.
Every year.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, it was huge. You couldn't even walk. And nowadays, which is an empty Marcus Theater over there because of the economy and everything with the COVID and all that.
Well,
but
and Chevy's was a big Ram sponsor, too.
Yeah.
Weren't they?
That's exactly right. They used to cater all the pregame food in the tent was all Chevy. So everybody went into the dome all Mexicaned out. And you want to talk about, you know what I'm talking about.
Well, Chevy's can't hold a candle to our place.
Chevys.
Well, Chevy's, Rosalita's. I actually ate at Rosalita's on Sunday.
I appreciate you turning me on to that place because that was magnificent.
We went there. I went there on Sunday with my parents.
Yeah.
They came out to watch Freddie. He had a hockey game out at Centene, the ice complex. They played in the barn.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. 5-year-olds getting to play in a big
They ram into the boards and everything?
Oh, man. Some of these kids, I'm telling you what, these kids are intense.
Yeah.
The ones that have been playing for several years. Freddie's just looking. He just kind of does his own thing out there. We got to work on his puck awareness.
Yeah.
But he's just learned to skate. So he's out there, getting around. But some of these kids, I mean, they are, they'll check you. I mean, they'll check some of the other kids. They'll throw punches.
Well, the Blues are back in action. They just started up on Thursday night.
We watched it. Great.
Yep,
I mean, I don't think it could have gone any better.
Right on.
With a big win over the Avalanche.
Go Blues!
The Avalanche are actually the favorite to win the Stanley Cup, and they just they owned them. And the Blues looked phenomenal. And
Nice.
I like that the Blues have brought in, last year they only had kind of one new player, right? They brought in Falk, and everyone else was the same from the championship team. And I think that can be I think that was hard for him to come into an environment where you're the only guy that doesn't have the ring.
Yeah, right.
This year they've brought in a bunch of different pieces. Obviously, we lost Pietrangelo, the captain, which is a big blow, but they brought in guys like Torrey Krug, who, I mean, he had a great game last night. Kyle Clifford scored a goal. He's a new guy whose son actually plays at Kirkwood Hockey.
Oh, really?
He's out there when Fred's out there. I think that, shaking up the roster is a good thing. And I would not bet against the Blues.
Really?
I think they've got a very good shot at winning again. And I think the bubble experience was just sort of an outlier. I don't think
Are they going back to arenas?
No, they're playing in the arenas.
Oh, great.
So this year they've got They've got 4 divisions.
Yeah.
The North, it's all the Canadian teams.
Yeah.
Because they don't want them traveling back and forth to the U.S.
Right.
So you only play the 8 teams in your division, or the 7 other teams. And the Blues are in the West. So they'll play the Avalanche, what, Dave, like 10 times this year? Something like that?
A total of 8 times.
8 times each team. And they'll play the Knights, the Vegas Golden Knights, Petrangelo's
We need
new
to go
team.
to some games, man.
Well, they don't have fans.
Oh,
So
they
far.
don't?
I don't think they have any fans.
But they're in the stadiums.
They are playing in their home arenas.
They ain't allowed nobody in.
They're doing like 2 to 3 game series, almost like baseball, so
really?
to limit travel.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and to start the season, the Blues are also going to invite a very limited number of guests. And on the home opener, either tonight or Monday night, depending on when you're listening to us, they're actually going to invite a few first responders to the game, like about 300.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, and I don't know if it's an NHL rule or if it's I saw that Tampa, I think Florida has allowed fans at other events, but I don't think the NHL is allowing it.
There are going to be 3 teams that allow fans. Tampa was going to, but a surge in cases in the metro area put the brakes on that one.
Oh, interesting.
I tell you what, that's a very come-hither voice that Dave has. I mean, the computers are right in front of his face, so I've never seen him, but I look at his forehead every time that we're in the studio. Dave, do you Botox? I don't. You have the smoothest forehead. Man.
Comes from many years of radio,
So it
shifts
is.
all over the place. It just helps the skin get its natural glisten.
that
Well, with
what
all
it
the
is?
eyebrows he raises at me, I don't know if he's going to keep that smooth forehead much longer.
Righto.
All right, I want to talk about something. St. Louis, this is totally
Yes.
censorship, man.
Yeah.
Twitter, Facebook.
Terrible.
Look, I don't want to get into the Trump. I mean, we talked about that last week. How disappointed I am and what happened in the Capitol and just the way he's handled everything. But this is scary.
Yeah.
What's happening right now with social media? The power they wield.
That's
the
right.
Facebooks, the Googles,
That's right.
the Twitters. I kind of went back. I was doing some history, just looking at Teddy Roosevelt, one of my favorite presidents. Known as the Trust Buster.
Yeah.
Early 1900s, late 1800s. There were a lot of concerns about the railroads, and some of the banks having too much power. That we're there. I mean, the power that these social media companies, that these internet companies have, needs to be looked at and needs to be taken seriously. And I fear now that you have Democrats sort of running the show, and they know that they're in their back pocket.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to step up and do anything about it.
No.
So the freedoms, and I get it. Look, people say, "Oh, well, First Amendment only applies to government, government action, and Twitter's a private company." You know what? That may be the case, but when you're Twitter and you are on the internet, presumably allowed to be there by the government or whoever, I don't know who owns the internet, but
I thought the internet was free speech.
well, my point is it is the only outlet
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. And
Yeah.
if you have a coordinated effort by Twitter, Facebook, Amazon, which we'll talk about Amazon in a second, to silence the opposition,
Yeah.
and the government doesn't do anything about it, that's concerning to me.
But see, the way that Twitter is playing is that this is not the opposition. What Trump did was an insurrection. He's got to be stopped, and one of the ways you stop him is not giving him that pulpit from which to go ahead and preach his sedentary, or what was that word? When they start
Insurrection,
insurrections. Yeah, whatever.
Sedition.
Sedition, there you go.
Seditious behavior. And I get that. I mean, I totally understand that argument, but the problem is, how many times have people on the left called for Trump to be killed or hurt, his family to be harmed, him to be, I mean, I remember like the Kathy Griffin, the psychotic comedian, held up the severed head of Donald Trump. Yeah. I mean, like, it's just, there's a double standard. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we'll talk about Parler was basically an alternative to Twitter that came about in the last year. Maybe it's been around longer than that, but it was kind of widely viewed as the conservative Twitter. We're not going to censor you. We're not going to whatever. And they used AWS, which is Amazon's web service, to host their site. Yeah, and out of nowhere, Amazon pulls their basically brings the whole site down. I mean, stops Parler from and Parler has filed suit now, and the response from Amazon is, well, you guys were you weren't doing a good enough job of like supervising content. I'm like, does Twitter? I mean, I see a lot of like vile, nasty things on Twitter.
I see death to America all the time from these terrorists, man.
You got Twitter has the Ayatollah of Iran. Has a Twitter account. Who's called for the death of Jews, the destruction of Israel, the destruction of the United States. How is that allowed? Okay, and you're going to say, oh well, This violent rhetoric needs to be
He
suppressed.
hasn't yet tried to overthrow the U.S. government. Trump did, so that's the way they're playing it. Because in reality, every day he's trying to overthrow.
That's a little
the U.S. government says. No, I'm talking about the Ayatollah.
That's what. Oh,
all right.
But I'm saying
Trump
you don't believe that Trump's trying to overthrow.
No. I don't. I do believe that he was shifting power in a way we've never seen before.
Expound on that.
And nobody ever tried to hold on to what he had.
Right. We've never had. Yeah. There's never been a scenario like this.
Because he looks upon it as, and I don't know whether it's for real or whether he's putting forth some sort of ideology that he's concocted in his mind, that he was ripped off in this election. The Electoral College said it's for real. Biden's president. The voters, there are 7 million more voters for Biden. That's kind of touchy, but nevertheless, that's what it was. And see, this is one of the things that bothers me about Trump. Trump had his run, all right? Your run is over, whether it was legal or whether it was illegal. So like Al Gore, they ended his run. And when he wanted to challenge it, the Democratic Party said to him, hey, Al, just back off, man. We're going to transition. We're going to slide. You're one of the greatest vice presidents. We're going to set you up to do climate stuff. And boom.
And get massages and assault your masseuses in hotels. Al Gore? Oh, yeah.
Did he do that?
Oh, yeah.
I did not know. Really?
This was many years after his inconvenient truth. But yeah,
did Tipper Gore
I don't know if they're still married.
Protest against
I
that?
don't know if they're still married, but it was an ugly situation. The media loosely covered it, of course.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if it was Mike Pence? I mean, he'd be penniless, homeless.
Oh, I know.
He'd be
I know.
totally,
Yeah.
And this goes back to my point. Okay, look,
Come on.
there was not proven election fraud.
Yeah.
But what we did have was an unprecedented coordination by social media groups, liberal media, a deck completely stacked against any chance of Donald Trump winning the election.
Right.
And that goes back to my earlier point, which is these companies have way too much power. They control every bit of information that 99% of Americans get. Facebook owns Instagram. They literally have, if you've seen the movie, what's the name of the movie? It's a Netflix documentary about how much power these social media companies have, how they manipulate people.
Yeah.
And what's scary is they say, oh, well, Donald Trump can go out on any street corner and get his message out to the people. It's like, no, he can't.
Right.
If the media doesn't cover it,
right,
or Twitter won't allow it to be put out there, then he can't really.
And the movie is The Social Dilemma out on Netflix.
The Social Dilemma. Watch that. It is very frightening. The amount of power they have, the way they manipulate you as a person, how they tap into your interest and your conservative views, liberal views, and they really do stoke anger and hostility. It's destroying our society. It really is. I mean, social media is destroying our society. And as a business owner, I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook page. I'm very active when it comes to kind of marketing and doing these things. I hate it. I hate Facebook.
Yeah.
I wish it didn't exist.
Yeah.
But as a business owner, you have to be on it.
I know it.
And it's scary. And Google's the same way. I wish I didn't have to monitor Google reviews and make sure that somebody's not going on there and leaving a bad review or doing this or doing that. And that I have to pay to be, search engine optimization and be at the top of searches and all this stuff. But it's if you don't do it, then you're falling behind. And that's the amount of power they have. And the fact that they can basically silence you, not only from an individual standpoint, but from a business standpoint. Yeah. We had an issue where we were trying to market tax debt relief, right?
Uh-huh.
We're trying to help people that have tax debt. And Google put us in jail. They said, you can't market debt relief services because there's a lot of fraud out there when it comes to consumer debt, credit card debt. And we couldn't get out of it. We literally, there was a 6-month period where we couldn't run ads.
No kidding.
Because we were in Google jail is how the social media consultants put it. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of scary when you think about they could literally do that. I post a lot of conservative things on my Facebook and other things. So, could that have triggered them to put me in Google jail? Who would know?
Well, the true presidents then could be looked upon as Bezos, as Zuckerberg, and whoever else these other guys.
Jack Dorsey, Twitter. They're far more powerful than anybody in government.
Exactly right. Those are your presidents right there.
And that's when the government has a duty under the Sherman Antitrust Act to look at it like Teddy Roosevelt did with the railroads, like he did with the big trusts that owned so much of America at that time, and say, look, you're too powerful. We can't allow you to be this powerful.
Here's the problem with that duty, and it is a bunch of duty.
It's crap.
Yeah, the problem with the whole deal is it needs to be changed. It needs to be changed for a modern day angle. I'm one of these guys who I have no problem with changing the Constitution if it's going to work for the modern day. That was 1776, whatever the year happened to be. I understand things change, but we can base on those principles, yet alter for the take on the modern day.
Well, and the problem is, like, I am 100% a capitalist, right? But capitalism relies on competition.
Yeah.
Right now, when you have companies like Amazon and Twitter who are able to basically squash the competition like they did with Parler, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And that's when the government has to step in. That's when it no longer becomes cronyism.
Yeah.
You've got you basically, like in Russia, they've got the Russian oligarchs, or the oil oligarchs and all these people. That's what we have right now. We have like a very few wealthy people, and it goes to Wall Street, to Silicon Valley. These people control more in this country than anyone really realizes, and it's scary.
Well, the new Rockefellers, just to use a parallel, are the Bezos, are the Zuckerbergs, are the Dorseys, and
and who's getting crushed? The little guy.
Well, when I was a kid and I was first studying government in high school, one of the first things that I read and found was that the U.S. government will not allow monopolies. And that's all these things are, is monopolies.
Well, that's what Teddy Roosevelt, the trust buster, he went in and said,
monopolies.
Whatever railroad company, you have too much power. You're basically, as a monopoly, you're imposing unreasonable, the railroad rates and things like that were a big part of it. But it needs to be looked at. I think it's really scary to see what's happening in this country. I'm afraid, I just don't understand what's going to change in the short term when you have basically complete democratic control over our major institutions. Who's really going to push back?
Well, I'm one of these guys. I like to give these guys a chance. Trump, give him a chance. This is what happened. Now, this is just me. And Biden, after the insurrection last Wednesday, Biden comes out and says, the president-elect comes out and says, can you imagine if that was a bunch of Black Lives Matters folk? And I'm thinking to myself, wow, you want to talk? That was despicable to me, because now he's stoking a fire.
Absolutely.
Right over there.
And honestly, with this impeachment effort, if I were in Joe Biden's shoes and he really wants to be a uniter, and
you don't say that if you're a uniter.
He needs to come out and say, Nancy Pelosi, stand back. We don't need an impeachment. This is only going to hurt our country, because it will. It's going to get nasty. It's going to be awful. And I'm just, again, I pray for our country. I think we got a lot of problems, and I'm not really sure there's any solutions on the horizon. This is the Mark Milton Show with the Smash, broadcasting
I don't see a solution.
No, from the Miller Furniture Studios. We got Corona surging, but anyway, we're just going to keep doing this show, keep speaking to the people, having a good time, trying to bring a little enjoyment, a little laughter.
Mirth.
What's that?
Mirth. Trying to bring mirth to the people.
All right, bring mirth to the people.
Are you not familiar with mirth?
No, I'm not.
That's a joyousness beyond compare.
We got to wrap up this segment. Definitely go check out Rosalita's. They are open, the dining room.
I love it.
Rosalita's the pair off Manchester Road. Check them out. They also have Rosalita's downtown for all of your Mexican dining needs, and also for carry out. They still have the great family pack. So be sure to check out Rosalita's for all of your Mexican wants and needs. This is the Mark Milton Show with the Smash, broadcasting from the Miller Furniture Studios. We'll be right back in a second.